Teval the balance scale isn't so balanced. Oh hey, it's the joke everyone does on their deck list video. Today, I'm bringing you a Teval deck list that gives you meaningful decisions to make every single game. We're gonna lean into Landfall, Mill, and Reanimator, allowing us to become a Demon Lord. But this is also a control deck. And because we built it like this, thematic and interactive, and put down a lot of cool puzzles for your opponents to solve, this deck is gonna be replayable for a very long time. So if you like fun bracket 3 optimized decks that still win, well, feel free to subscribe. My name is Assassin, and I'm happy to share in this hobby with all of you. But without further ado, how do we set up for Teval? We play Birds of Paradise, Delighted Halfling, Soul Ring, and Wild Growth. For turn 2, we play Fanatic of Ronas and Bloom Tender, both which scale into the late game. Herd Heirloom doubles as draw and allows us to push through damage. And Malevolent Rumble, which gives us card selection and allows us to mill a few cards. The point of ramp here is to summon our commander turn 3 to attack turn 4, but ramp isn't the only way to do that. Lightning Greaves and Swift Foot Boots both provide haste and targeting protection. Crashing Drawbridge provides haste for your entire board. And Irma Part-Time Mutant. Summon it the turn before your commander, then when your commander comes on board, Irma becomes a copy of your commander and immediately attacks. And every turn after that, she's just a copy of your best monster. So now that Teval's on board, he's going to start milling and playing lands from the graveyard. So, Landfall, Hedron Crab, and Return of the Mole Man. Both mill cards whenever you play a land. And whenever a land is milled, Head Shredder triggers to return that land to the battlefield tapped, which then triggers Hedron Crab and Mole Man, which then mills lands, which then triggers Head Shredder. Yeah, gets crazy. And Ice still does both jobs at the same time, allowing you to play lands from the graveyard, play a second land, and milling whenever you landfall. But what if you have a lot of lands stuck in the grave? Aftermath Analyst and Lumra both mill on ETB, and then return all lands from your graveyard to the battlefield. Lumra's power being equal to the amount of lands you control, but that's not even the scariest thing. Because while we are playing all these lands, Mossborn Hydra is growing into the thousands. And your commander is turning into a one-shot machine with Might Form Harmonizer, doubling the power of a creature whenever a land enters. And if that's not enough, we have a million Scute Swarms and hundreds of zombies from your commander and from Field of the Dead. And then we exile Naga Fleshcrafter from the grave and turn all of our zombies and Scute Swarms into our opponent's best monsters. Because as we've been landfalling, Royal Elemental has been taking control of all creatures on board. And we could just be funny. Play life to animate all our lands and knock somebody out the game with bad manners. Or we could play the death side of it and reanimate one of the many boss monsters we've milled, like the subscribe button. But no, seriously, if you're liking what I'm doing so far, make sure to subscribe. It's my third video, so even just liking the video is huge and appreciated. But I think we were talking about death and life. Colossal Gravereaver, who mills 3 whenever he enters or attacks, and anytime any creature is milled, you get to return one creature that was milled onto the battlefield for free. Colossal Gravereaver, so good. So good. And because he's so good, we try to maximize milling as much as possible. Snarling Gorehound surveils whenever a creature with power 2 or less enters, like his zombies. Ripples of Undeath mills during your first main phase and lets you add one of the mill cards to your hand. It's kind of crazy. 6. Mills 3 on attack, returns a land that was milled, and you could discard a land to cast one of your permanents from grave. Pretty nuts. But what exactly are we milling? None other than the Phyrexian man himself, Jin Cataxis. Yes! Yes! Draw 7 during your end phase and loop your opponent's hands, which means discard their hand. It's pretty mean. Never said we were nice. We play Massacre Worm to punish token decks, Bane of Progress to punish artifact and enchantment decks, and Gary the Snail to punish everything else. But why stop there? Accursed Marauder, Fleshbag Marauder, and Plaguecrafter all force opponents to sacrifice creatures when they enter. Faller's Faithful doubles as targeted removal and card draw. All 4 could be looped with Chthonian Nightmare, a repeatable reanimate spell for low mana value creatures, and lets play crafter discard your opponent's entire hand. But what do we do with all of our opponent's creatures now in grave? Sepulchral Primordial allows us to reanimate a creature from each of our opponent's graveyard when it enters. But what I really love, comboing him with Rise of the Witch King and Will of the Abzan, both sorceries which force our opponents to sack their creatures while we revive one of our own. Super funny when you have this interaction go off. And because we love our opponent's creatures so much, we play Vizier of Many Faces and Naga Fleshcrafter. Both enter as clones on the battlefield, and both can be used from the grave in case we mill them. We also play Entomb and Unmarked Grave in order to be able to use our deck as a toolbox. And because we're not playing combos and infinites, there is never a must-grab card. And to be able to use that toolbox, Reanimate, Animate Dead, and Victimize. Dread Return and Diagraph Rebirth. Both can be used from the grave. And for mass reanimation, Agadeem's Awakening revives creatures with different CMCs in your graveyard. Living Death doubles as a board wipe and a win con. But what do we do if we mill our revival spells? We could bring them back with Bala Ged Recovery or Colossal Sky Turtle, which doubles as removal. Or even better, Lier, Disciple of the Drowned, prevents all spells from being countered and gives all of our instant and sorceries flashback. Whenever we cast one, it triggers our commander to create a zombie. So, it's like double synergy. We also play some deck smoothers, which help fix our hands and discard some of our boss monsters. Cephalid Coliseum is a land. Frantic Search is free. Champion of Wits, Winter Night Stories, and Resentful Revelations can be played from the graveyard. And we also play Bitter Triumph, a removal spell with an extra cost to discard a card or pay 3 life. And finally, we play Ghostly Pilferer and Psychic Frog. Each let us discard cards whenever we want and both draw. For Protective Interaction, Fierce Guardianship, Swan Song, and Spider Sense. I love Spider Sense in the deck because it could counter a Bajuka Bog. Someone in my pod literally runs Bajuka Bog and Urza's Cave to find it in every single deck he can. You know who you are. I hate you. We play a total of 38 lands. Boseiju, Atawara, and Fail the Profane for removal. Shifting Woodland can transform into one of your bombs currently in the grave. And finally, I play Strip Mine and Wasteland. With the recursions, some might see this as mass land denial and bracket 4 territory. I don't know. You guys let me know. But if you're playing in public, yeah, I would just replace these. But I did want to talk about budget swaps for some of our more expensive cards. Lumra can simply be replaced with Summon Titan. It's a little slower, but it does the exact same thing. Delighted Halfling is expensive now for some reason. Elves of Deep Shadow or Deathrite Shaman work. Fierce Guardianship, try Luisic Sacrifice. It can counter Bajuka Bog. Otherwise, go with the cheaper and offer you can't refuse. Agadeem's Awakening can be replaced by Takenuma Abandoned Mire. Field of the Dead is win more. More duels for color fixing work. And Royal Elemental. Try Taskmaster. He used to be part of my Marvel vs. Capcom 3 team. I think he deserves some respect after what the MCU did to him, you know? And I did want to give my final thoughts on the deck. It is super fun not knowing what you're gonna mill. And the reason I stayed away from infinite combos or life drain kind of things is because I wanted to play Entomb and Unmarked Grave. But if I had those combo-y pieces, it was never not right to grab them first. And also I try to maximize as many cards that have graveyard effects. Because one thing you'll run into this deck sometimes is that you have a lot of lands, a full graveyard, and nothing in hand. And if you guys have more suggestions for graveyard effects, let me know because I'm always looking to jam the deck with more of them. I hope you guys subscribe, you liked the video, and now let's get into some playtesting hands. Hope you enjoy. Crashing Drawbridge, Entomb, Power Sneakers, Forest, Misty Rainforest, Unmarked Grave, and Yavi Maya Coast. We do have haste and we do have our colors, so we're gonna go ahead and play this. We're gonna go ahead and draw. We will play Yavi Maya Coast, tap for green to play Delighted Halfling. Then we're gonna go ahead and draw. Here, we'll play Misty Rainforest, sack it to get a Bayou. And we're gonna tap Delighted Halfling and Yavi Maya Coast to cast Lightning Greaves. And we're going to go ahead and equip Lightning Greaves to Delighted Halfling, and we will pass. We will untap, upkeep, draw, Underground Mortuary. Since we do have protection with Lightning Greaves, at this point I would want to summon our commander. We're going to play a Forest for turn, tap for 4 here, casting our commander, who is uncounterable due to Delighted Halfling, and we will go ahead and equip Lightning Greaves to Teval. Then we're going to go ahead into battle and swing out. Our commander will trigger, milling 3 cards, Air Shoes, Accursed Marauder, and Fanatic of Ronas. We're going to go ahead and return a land from grave, the Misty Rainforest, which will trigger our commander to create 1 zombie druid. And then from here, we're going to go ahead and pass. So we do have good setup, and we drew a removal spell. Now, we don't have any reanimate spells to combo with Entomb or Unmarked Grave, but we do have a draw spell, Faller's Faithful. This is why I like using this card. We're going to tap 3 to cast Faller's Faithful. When it enters, we can destroy up to 1 target creature. We'll destroy our zombie druid, and that creature's controller draws 2 cards. Living Death and Lier, Disciple of the Drowned. Okay, now we're talking a little bit. Because at this point, we can start filling our graveyard. We're going to go ahead and sack Misty Rainforest, playing a Hedge Mage, surveilling for 1. Spell the Profane, we'll throw that in there. And we will tap Underground Mortuary to surveil 1, throw 6 in there. And we forgot to untap our commander, but we wouldn't tap him. And we would go and attack with our commander, milling 3 again. Colossal Sky Turtle, Massacre Worm, and Ash Barrens. And of course, we'll return Misty Rainforest back, triggering to create a zombie druid. And here, we would go ahead and pass. And we would draw Mossborn Hydra. To start, I'll sack Misty Rainforest, getting ourselves an island. And to set up for a big play next turn, because next turn is when I want to do Living Death, I'll tap Delighted Halfling, the island, and these 3 lands here to cast Lier, Disciple of the Drowned. Now spells can't be countered, and each instant and sorcery card in our graveyard has flashback. Right now it's Spell the Profane, but it's still pretty cool. We'll go ahead and attack with our commander Teval, milling 3. Champion of Wits, Undergrowth Stadium, and Snarling Gorehound. We're going to go ahead and return Undergrowth Stadium and create another zombie. And during main phase 2, I'll go ahead and cast Unmarked Grave to send something to the grave. Colossal Grave Reaver. And we will go ahead and untap, upkeep, and draw. Got ourselves a Strip Mine. I'll go ahead and play that Strip Mine. We'll tap for 2 to cast Crashing Drawbridge. And we'll also pay 1 for Entomb. And we're going to send one of our other boss creatures to the grave. Sepulchral Primordial. And actually, to go back a little bit, we're going to go ahead and equip Lightning Greaves to Lier. And we should have done this last turn, by the way, just to keep it protected. But here, we paid the 2. We're going to use Bitter Triumph to discard Crashing Drawbridge to destroy our own commander. And now that that's all set up, we're going to be tapping 5 here for Living Death. Everyone will sacrifice their board. Nobody could counter us. And we get to revive our entire board that we've been setting up this entire time. So Faller's Faithful and Lier will get exiled first. Then we get to reanimate all of our creatures. Teval, Crashing Drawbridge, Sepulchral Primordial, Colossal Grave Reaver, Snarling Gorehound, Champion of Wits, Massacre Worm, Colossal Sky Turtle, 6, Fanatic of Ronas, and Accursed Marauder. And then these will hit the grave after. And here we have a bunch of triggers. First, we are going to have everyone sack a creature with the Cursed Marauder. Because if they did bring something back from the grave, we just put it back. Which is important because Sepulchral Primordial will reanimate something from each of our opponent's graves. Let's just say these 3 zombies are our opponent's best creatures in grave. Then, Colossal Grave Reaver will enter to mill 3. Birds of Paradise, Jin-Kataxis, and a land. And then we get to revive Jin-Kataxis for free. Champion of Wits enters. We get to draw 2 and discard 2. We'll discard Mossborn Hydra and Verdant Catacombs. And Snarling Gorehound would also trigger for 1, 2, 3, 4 to surveil 4. So we'll look at the top 4, which we're going to mill all of them. Colossal Graveweaver will trigger to bring back Aftermath Analyst, which will mill 3. We hit a creature, it's Fleshbag Marauder, which enters, everyone sacks a creature. And this whole time, as things are leaving the grave, we're also creating a bunch of zombie druids with our commander. But it doesn't end there, because we could also equip the Lightning Greaves that were in our field to Crashing Drawbridge, tap, and give everything haste. And I think you see the game plan from there. Polluted Delta, Mossborn Hydra, Field of the Dead, Shifting Woodland, Icetill Explorer, Snarling Gorehound, and Fell the Profane. We do have access to our colors, so we're going to go ahead and play this hand. I'm going to go ahead and draw Misty Rainforest. I noticed that we do have Mossborn Hydra and 2 fetch lands. I'm going to try to save those for Mossborn Hydra. So instead, I'm going to go ahead and play Shifting Woodlands tapped, just to guarantee our green pip with Mossborn Hydra. Then we're going to go ahead and pass. Untap, upkeep, draw. We get a Crashing Drawbridge. Here, I just want to continue to set up, and we're not going to attack with Mossborn Hydra right away. So we're going to go ahead and play Field of the Dead. And we're going to go ahead and pass. And we're going to go untap, upkeep, draw, and drew a reanimate. Now that we have our 3 colors here, we're going to go ahead and play Fell the Profane using the green pip to cast Mossborn Hydra. It's going to enter with a +1 counter. And now when we start landfalling next turn, we're going to do some really crazy stuff. We're going to go ahead and untap, upkeep, and draw, play Crafter. Okay, so here, since we do have Icetill, we do want to get him online as soon as possible. Since he requires 2 green pips, we're going to go ahead and play Misty Rainforest, triggering Mossborn Hydra. We're going to sack Misty Rainforest, grab ourselves a Bayou, which will trigger Mossborn Hydra to go to 4. Then we're going to go ahead and tap 4 to play Icetill Explorer. Now we can play an extra land per turn and play from the grave. We're going to go ahead and play Misty Rainforest from the grave, triggering Mossborn Hydra. He's now at 8. Then we're going to go ahead and crack Misty Rainforest. Well, actually, before we do that, we're going to have to mill for Icetill Explorer, Seadrian Crab. Then we'll go look for a land. Grab ourselves an Overgrown Tomb. And then Mossborn Hydra triggers to go to 16, and Icetill triggers to mill a card. Swiftfoot Boots. Since we didn't surveil or mill anything too good, I'm going to go ahead and tap Overgrown Tomb for Snarling Gorehound. And I'm going to go ahead and attack somebody with Mossborn Hydra for 16. And now we're set up for a crazy turn. We're going to go ahead and untap, upkeep, and draw. Wild Growth. We're going to go ahead and tap Overgrown Tomb to enchant Wild Growth to Field of the Dead. Let's play from the grave while we got it. We're going to play Misty Rainforest from grave, triggering Icetill to mill 1. And Mossborn Hydra to go to 32. Sack Misty Rainforest to grab ourselves a breeding pool. Mossborn Hydra will go to 64. Icetill will mill a card. And we're going to go ahead and cast our commander. And because we could still landfall some more, we're going to go ahead and play Misty Rainforest. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lands and our commander on board. Meaning we're going to go ahead and create a zombie druid for our commander and 1 for Field of the Dead, which will both trigger Snarling Gorehound to surveil 1. It's a land, we'll dump it into the grave, and it's another land, dump it into the grave. And Mossborn Hydra will go to 128. We're going to go ahead and sack Misty Rainforest for a watery grave. It'll enter, and Mossborn Hydra will go to 256. Icetill will trigger to mill 1. It's 6. Snarling Gorehound will trigger to surveil 1. It's Jinkataxis. We'll throw it in the grave. And Field of the Dead will trigger to create another zombie, which is why Snarling Gorehound triggered, by the way. We're going to go ahead and tap the Bayou and cast Reanimate, targeting Jinkataxis. He's going to enter from the grave, and we'll create another zombie druid, which will trigger Snarling Gorehound to surveil 1. It's Bane of Progress. Perfect. And as you can see right now, we're just going to kill whoever we think has an answer for Jinkataxis. And otherwise, we're going to let Jinkataxis do his work, discard everybody's hands. And at the end phase, Jinkataxis will draw 7 cards. So let's not forget that. We might draw into some counter spells or answers. And now we have card draw, filtering, and some removal with Colossal Sky Turtle. So we could easily rebuild our board if they actually have an answer for us. And if you made it to the end of the video, you are a real one. Make sure to like and subscribe. I really appreciate that you took your time to watch the video and my plays. Let me know if you would have played anything differently too. No one's perfect, so I also appreciate any tips you guys have. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next one.